Hello and welcome to Pages to Pixels, where we talk about movies every week. I'm Rohan, that's Kevin. Let's jump into it. I'm excited to actually talk about a movie today,
Yeah.
like one singular movie. In Send Help, the new Sam Raimi movie,
hmm
uh, and I kind of want you to talk about it a little bit here because I think you are one
Me?
a big fan of Sam Raimi, and also a big fan of Survivor.
Well, thank you for recognizing that I'm a big fan. I don't think that I had anything that was indicating that I was a big Survivor fan or
Your
a big
Tom and
Sam Raimi
Jerry
fan.
sweater gave it away. That's a dead giveaway.
Right. Well, actually, so I thought about this before because in a way, Send Help is kind of like Tom and Jerry if Jerry was torturing Tom on an island the whole movie. Um, but no, no, Send Help. I guess starting off with Sam Raimi. It's been a while since he's had an original project. I mean, the last one I can
Hmm.
remember that wasn't like an IP was Drag Me to Hell, which I think is a very underrated horror movie.
I've seen it.
It's really good. Really funny, really entertaining. But Drag Me to Hell, it's really, really fun. And I know he does a lot of production stuff with the new Evil Dead movies, but he hasn't been directing any. Of the recent films. So it was nice to see him go all out in a completely original movie based on a kind of unoriginal premise of characters get stranded on an island, what would happen. But this one takes it to a dark and horrific approach. It's more like borderline thriller with like some scary things than it is outright horror, but I do think that it is a really funny comedy still in some Sam Raimi way. All of the Survivor references just add to how much enjoyment I have with the movie.
Yeah, I agree. I really liked this movie. I didn't know much about it. I just knew it was about two people kind of crash landing on an island. One is Rachel McAdams, who, for the longest time, the only thing I knew about this movie was based off the poster that I would walk past at the movie theater. And I don't know why in the poster I thought it was Naomi Scott. And I was a little disappointed that it wasn't Naomi Scott. Not that I don't like Rachel McAdams. She's also great. It's just I was expecting Naomi Scott. And then I saw the second poster and it's like, oh, wait, that's Rachel McAdams.
Mhm.
But side note, like, yeah, she plays,
Linda Little.
sorry?
Linda Little is her
Yeah,
name.
she plays Linda, and she basically works at an office and is up for promotion. But then when the CEO, the new CEO, played by Dylan O'Brien, suddenly decides, nope, I'm not gonna give it to her. I'm gonna give it to my friend instead. But he still takes her on this one trip, and yeah, of course they crash land.
Mhm.
And I think it just from the start, I thought it was really funny, especially when they introduced Survivor. I had heard people making Survivor related jokes about this movie. I had no idea it was actually Survivor.
This movie's cursed. I mean, it's kind of cursing the
Yeah.
recording.
Uh-huh. Just like it cursed the flight.
Yeah. Well, it's funny watching like what Final Destination. You never think that like a movie where there's like a horror movie with a plane crash is gonna be topped. Um, I don't think that that necessarily happened, but I think the plane crash sequence is one of my favorite parts of the movie. Um, it just
it's
has like
pretty
such a
it's pretty
violent,
crazy.
funny like the part where the guy like flies on the plane and he's like holding on to her and she's like no 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 and like she lets go and then he flies out but he's still stuck and he's like
Oh
slamming
yeah.
into the side is dude it was crazy.
And then I think she just puts the window shade up.
Oh yeah, like
Or down, yeah. Up is when
yeah.
up is when it's open. She puts it down.
Mhm.
But yeah, Dylan O'Brien was also really good in this movie. He's very unlikable, which is of course the point. Like every time he laughs, I'm just like I just want to like I just want him to die.
At some point like I you do start to kind of do you start to kind of root for him almost because there is like a lot of I mean, there are a bunch of character dynamics we'll get into,
Mhm.
but primarily his character is pretty static, right? Like usually you've got like dynamic characters in scripts where they're going to change by the end of the story. With him, it was always feeling like he is dynamic in a sense, but he always goes back to his old ways.
Yeah.
I wonder, do you consider that all still a static character, or is it kind of up to interpretation?
I actually do think that he changes quite a bit. I think he actually has more of an arc than she does.
Hmm.
I think with her though, you get to see a different side of her when they're on the island. it's because she's just thriving as opposed to
Yeah.
being kind of timid and awkward the way she was in The Office. So she does thrive, but I don't know if she has like a full character arc the way that he does. I think what does cause him to revert is kind of the reveal at the end of the movie.
Hmm.
I don't know if we want to get into that just yet.
Yeah,
Um,
let's not get there.
yeah, but
Um,
I would say up until then, I think he does have a solid character arc, and then yeah, obviously the ending just kind of. But there's something very solid in the ending that causes him to revert.
mhm. He, I think throughout, he gives a great performance, by the way, as this like sniveling CEO.
Yeah.
What I think really worked about the character for me was when he finally does start to accept like there is no there is no help coming, and so he needs to like to uh, work with Linda.
Hmm.
But he also starts to see these little weird things in her, and he's like, "No, I want to get out of here." And I think that kind of goes into that title, "Send Help." Is it because of the island, or is it because he's trapped here with her and doesn't want to be there anymore? It's kind of a double
Yeah.
entendre there.
Hmm. Yeah. I mean, it could probably be a little bit of both, of course, and of course he's not. He also tries to scheme and everything like that. He does. He poisons her and then builds the raft, of course,
Hmm.
trying to escape in his grand plan. And then, of course, he doesn't know what he's doing, unlike Linda, so it breaks apart.
There is an element to the movie that I was a little bit thrown off by, which was the fact that she isn't trying to get help, right? And I think that maybe that bumps for a lot of other people, like at least throughout most of it until you get to that end. But like I think it's kind of funny because like at some point both of the characters have two different goals, right?
Hmm.
One is to remain in power, like Linda, who I think we should probably start talking about her and her
Yeah.
journey now. But his is mainly just like get off the island, whatever means necessary, and survive. I kind of feel like in the last bit, his arc, he's almost accepted it, and he does finally try to like live on the island. But
Hmm.
I wonder how much of that is just him playing into her. It's really psychological. I like that you don't really know exactly what every character's thinking.
Yeah. So I would actually push back. I think Linda wanting to stay on the island was telegraphed pretty early on.
Hmm.
I mean, there is that scene where she sees the yacht and she's about to call out for help, and then she goes, "No, not yet."
Hmm.
Um, and of course, he can't do anything about it because he's in his he can't even walk at that point because his leg's still busted. It kind of reminded me of Misery a
Hmm.
little bit in that sense.
Yeah, I get the misery comparisons. Rip Rob Reiner, what a
Yeah.
legend.
Hmm.
Um, but just clarifying, I wasn't saying that like the bump is because she like does because it's not clear that she didn't want to escape. I'm more talking about like when I was watching it, right? And she's like, "Oh no, like the reason why we have to stay is because so and so." Like she gives an excuse as to why like searching for help doesn't matter. Like that, I was
Oh,
like, that seems odd to
hmm.
believe. It felt like a contrived way of her
Hmm.
wanting to stay. But then you realize, no, actually, she wants that. She wants power on the island. She wants to
Yeah.
stay. So that's what I meant. Like early on, I thought one thing, but it subverted my expectations.
Hmm. Yeah. No, that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I do have a question for you, which is, do you buy her abilities, or yeah, we'll call it abilities to actually get through this because of the fact that she's such a huge Survivor fan.
Okay, so there are a couple things that don't really make any sense. I will say it's all totally TV. Like she can do all these things. The fire thing is real. Okay, so fire can be made caveman style by like rubbing the sticks against the rocks the way that she does. On Survivor, usually you get flint, which is to strike
Mm-hmm.
with a knife, and I don't remember if she uses anything like that, but she definitely did something that you could use to make fire. On Survivor, people have made fire without flint all the time. Famously, Yao Man used his glasses to make fire, which is kind of crazy. Um,
Well, she had
uh,
glasses.
yeah, she did have glasses, so I wonder
Yeah.
if they borrowed a bit from that. Um, Everything else, there's some crazy stuff she makes. Like there's a crazy outfit with straw that she makes that I don't think. I think it was like a bag. Like there's no way you can make that bag with palm leaves. It's all so flimsy.
Or
Um,
did she make that, or did she steal it?
I don't know. She said she did steal one item from this mansion that she finds, right? And
Yeah.
she's like, "Huh, the things will wash up on shore." uh, I didn't even that didn't even like click in my mind. Like I thought that would have been from the plane. Like I was like, "Oh, that
Yeah, I
makes
know.
sense. It was on the plane." No, it was such a surprise to find out where that was from.
Hmm. So I think that. So personally, I kind of buy it that she's able to do a lot of this
Hmm.
stuff. Okay, maybe some of it is a little bit far fetched, but no, I have not seen as much Survivor as you have. I've seen like maybe 3 seasons or something like that, 3 or 4. Uh,
Yeah.
but some of those contestants, I mean, they are like pretty dedicated. Like they're like, oh yeah, I practice making fire at home. I like, I make the challenges at home. They legit like study and practice. And
Hmm.
this movie establishes that she does want to be on Survivor also.
Hmm.
So I do buy that she knows what to do. And then I
Oh
think,
yeah, I buy the
yeah.
character knowing that
Mhm.
stuff for sure. Um, is it realistic to what could happen in real life? Probably not. But Linda, like I believe that she can make in
Oh
universe she
yeah.
can make all of those things.
Hmm. And then, of course, I know we talked about the mansion, but the movie does kind of telegraph it, um, where it's like, "Hey, don't
Hmm.
go to those trees. It's really bad." I forget what she says, and
Yeah, she says you'll die basically if you go that way.
I think I immediately, which he did, uh, but
Oh shit! I didn't even think about that.
but I kind of picked up on it. I was like, okay, there's gonna definitely be something there, and I was like, maybe it's I didn't know what to think exactly, but it's funny because I mentioned this after we watched the movie, and Kirtana's not here. Unfortunately, she would probably get this reference. But there is an old Bollywood movie, not like crazy old. I want to say like early 2010s,
Hmm.
where it's not the central plot of the movie. It's really just like a few sequences. But these people, they're I don't know what they're partying on a boat or something, and they somehow wash up on this island. It's deserted. It's two couples, the two guys. They're arguing, and they go into the woods to find food while the women are. They're trying to build like the shelter and get a fire going, and the two guys, while arguing and searching for food, find themselves at a resort. And in order to impress their girlfriends, they bring like fruit baskets and all that, and then they bring that to their girlfriends. Meanwhile, they are eating like full buffet meals from the resort,
Oh my
and
god.
then they call a friend to rescue them. And it's funny because while I was watching this movie, I was like, wouldn't it be funny if this movie also did that thing? And it kind of did.
It
So
it's a really good twist, especially
yeah.
like that's like they're not home and everything. Like it's totally believable that she would be able to break
Mhm.
in and then do nothing, like nothing, no bad consequences, um, just all of that.
Yeah.
It's a really funny twist. Um,
Um, But I mean,
Going
I
back
guess. Sorry.
going back to like creating things crazy, by the way, the bag thing did remind me that, I mean, there is some surprising things that you can make on Survivor. Like there is a guy who made like a swing, um like using like bamboo, and he also made like a lot of furniture, like a table and everything. He was like crazy. His name is Wendell. When we went to the Survivor 42 premiere, that he's one of the people that was hosting
Oh, okay.
at the and that in New York. But he built furniture on the island. Um, so like she definitely was very capable. I'm kind of surprised that she didn't opt to just ignore the mansion, but I guess she was just like, like I might as well eat if I've got the opportunity. Um, and eat she did, both in her role and in in the mansion.
Yeah, and I guess so we alluded to it earlier, but I was talking about Dylan O'Brien's character. I
Hmm.
can't remember his name for some reason.
Yeah, I don't
Uh,
know.
but when I said he did have a character arc, I do think that he had a full arc, and then he saw the mansion. Or
Hmm.
actually, no, it was when he started to when he kind of figured out that Linda um, killed killed his fiance.
Yeah.
Um, which, by the way, poor like boat driver, just like the man was completely innocent. He's like,
In that moment where she's like debating it and then it cuts away because you don't see what happened, it's pretty clear that they fell, right? Like you're like, okay, well they didn't come back, so
yeah,
something bad must have happened. I don't know if it was just me, but I actually thought she I was really rooting for Linda. I was like, no, she's not going to let them die. She's going to try to grab and save them. And for a long time you don't know the truth. I was like actually like, oh, I believe that she wouldn't stoop that low, to let like basically get them killed. Um, but I really like the what they set up earlier with this like campfire conversation where she's like, my husband was a drunk addict, and he
hmm
and I like laid the keys on the table and I let him drive, and then he
yeah,
died, is what she says. Um, and it's really messed up, and you're like, okay, but plausibly, like maybe you can forgive her for that. Like she seems like she's going through it, but then it happens again, and you're like, well,
yeah,
shit. Like I can't trust this woman.
hmm yeah, and she practically like she wait, I don't remember. Did she push them or no? But she,
she she I think does actually like push them, like because she okay, the girl falls first, and
hmm
then he's like, help me, and then she just kind of comes over and
oh
nudges.
yeah.
Yeah, so.
Um, so once Dylan Bryan recognizes that, I think that's when his character reverts. But I think up until then, he actually did have an arc where, at the beginning, and it's a very clear arc. You know, at the beginning, he was an asshole and dismissive of Linda and disrespectful to her.
Hmm.
And I mean, he has his ups and downs getting there, but he does get to the point where he does truly respect her. And then he finds out about his fiance dying, um, and then he finds out about the mansion,
Hmm.
and of course that's you could argue he reverts, but also you can't really necessarily blame him because I mean she did just murder his fiance.
Hmm. Yeah,
Um,
you can't really.
yeah,
I saw some criticism about that because the primary theme of this movie, I think, is well, one of the main themes of this is like class related, right? Because he's super rich and privileged, and she is like a nobody to him. And one of the criticisms I saw was that she was like, um, was it, it was sorry, I'm trying to figure out how to phrase this.
no, you're good.
Um, it was basically saying that like the lower class, when they finally get to a position of power, they are they treat other people just as poor as um, people on the top do.
Hmm.
Um, was essentially what I was trying to say. Um, and I don't know how I feel about that read. I think that um, for one thing, it doesn't really matter how poorly.
Yeah.
It doesn't really matter how evil Linda was. Like she did not deserve to be treated that way because at that point, or to his knowledge, like there was
Yeah.
nothing that could have caused the situation. Um, but
She was.
also,
Sorry.
oh, sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say she wasn't necessarily evil at the beginning of the story.
No, she wasn't evil. And also, I don't think that she was that poor. She was the next in line to be
Oh
in the
yeah.
thing. It just
Hmm.
so happened that there was someone else who was high on the totem pole. The whole thing really was just like, don't judge a book by its cover. Don't underestimate
Yeah.
someone who is like, underestimate people. And then some people are so driven that it drives them to
Hmm.
places that they shouldn't go. I think it's like a cautionary tale. It's not
Yeah.
meant to be so deep as, oh, well, the poor people, when they rise up, they're going to be evil. Like, that's
Yeah.
kind of stupid.
I would argue the theme is more just how power ultimately corrupts people.
Hmm. Yeah.
Because in the status quo, Dylan O'Brien had the power. She didn't. She just jumped off my lap. But
She has the power to run around now.
yeah. But Dylan O'Brien had all the power, and Linda didn't.
Hmm.
And then on the island, Linda had the power. Um, and those dynamics, they kind of flipped. But then you could also argue that, you know, maybe if you are nice to people from the start, then that won't happen. Like if Dylan O'Brien was okay, let's say he's still the boss, but he doesn't pass her up on the promotion. He's not actively belittling her or laughing at her
Yeah.
audition tape. Then maybe when she initially sees that yacht the first time, or she discovers the mansion, maybe she tells him like oh my god, there's a mansion on the other side of the island. Let's go, and then we can get help. Um,
Hmm.
so
Exactly. If he
it's
was nice, none of this would have happened.
yeah, because there is this thing of like if you're nice to others, then they'll probably also be nice to you.
Hmm.
Um, so yeah, I feel like that's more what the movie's getting at. I think reading it like, oh, if the poor people get money, they're just going to be evil. I think that's a very surface level reading of it.
Yeah. I don't think we can talk about this movie without talking about two scenes in particular. The really horror, people probably listening to this hearing more of like the thriller moments, like what are the horror moments of this?
Mm-hmm.
I think it's the plane crash, the
Oh
boar
yeah,
scene, and the jellyfish scene, quote unquote, or the toxin scene. I don't know exactly how to describe it. I
the
don't think
dream
he's very
sequence.
YouTube. Oh, the dream sequence. Yeah, there are a couple dream sequences in it that have a Raimi zombie jump scare, which is awesome. But no, I'm talking about when she hits him with the toxin that
Oh
paralyzes him,
yeah,
and then she,
she attempts to
uh,
castrate him.
yeah, you said it, not me. I wasn't sure if that was good for YouTube or not,
I'm not
but
sure actually. She tried. Let's say she tried to make him one of the Unsullied warriors from Game of Thrones.
I unfortunately don't get that reference. But yeah.
Yeah, well, a lot of people will, and I think you can do the math.
Between those, which do you think was the scariest? Because for me, I think I kind of picked up that she was messing with him. But in
Yeah.
that scene, I think the boar scene is the scariest because like those things are scary in real life, and it's just like slobbering and gross and just coming at you so super fast. I thought that was the scariest scene for me.
For me, yeah, I get the boar scene. I think that was a great scene. The way that it was the way that it was like filmed and everything. I agree that the paralysis scene was. I kind of started picking up on it that she was just messing with him. I for me, it's the plane scene is the scariest because that feels more like. I mean, that feels just more like it could happen,
Mm-hmm.
on like any given flight because it's. I'm not saying I fly all the time, but I fly relatively frequently. So that is
Mm-hmm.
something that is just like in. It's just one of those things that in my everyday world where for no reason that just happens. So for me, it was the plane sequence.
Well, hopefully I'll be there so that I can do all the survivor stuff and we can live on the island and we'll figure everything out from there.
Yep. And I'll try to be
Um,
nicer than Dylan O'Brien was.
what, if anything, stood out that you didn't like? Because I only have one major thing, but I'm curious if you have anything that's different than mine.
um, I'm gonna be honest. I'm still not 100% sure on the ending. I know you have something in the ending where you're like, oh, it would have been better if, and I'll let you
Yeah.
say that. I think for me, um, I was torn because I actually have a friend who watched it and was like, hey, I kind of wish that both of them ended up working together to get out of the situation. And I was like, okay, that feels like too nice of an ending for this
No,
movie.
I don't like that ending. You can't
Yeah,
do that.
I almost kind of wish they both died on the island somehow.
hmm
Um, that would have kind of been my ending. It just, yeah, but I think the ending for the most part works. It's not that it was a bad ending. I just think maybe it could have been better.
Yeah, like it's a satisfying-ish ending,
Hmm.
where I like the callback to like, oh, can you play golf? And then
Hmm.
kills him with a club. Match cut in a really cool way to her, like being on
Yeah.
top and golfing in this awesome like jumper. It's got this cool like almost Hitchcockian like she's driving down the
Hmm.
hill. Like it's a really cool scene. But for me, I mean, either A, I would take your ending where just it's completely horrific and they both die,
Hmm.
or show her on Survivor. That's the thing she wanted at
Yeah.
the end of the day. And imagine it's like, imagine you got Jeff and you got two randos to sit next to her, and he's like, I'm going to read the votes. And then it's like, Linda, and she wins. Which, to be honest, I don't think Linda could win Survivor because she would lose the social game. She could not win that, that part of the game, I don't think. That's the sad truth of
Yeah.
Linda Little. She can't win Survivor ever because she would not get a jury vote in her favor, unfortunately.
Yeah. Maybe they'd keep her around long enough because she's just so good at making all this stuff on the island.
Yeah.
Um, that they're like, hey, we can't get rid of her because she actually does a lot of work at camp, and then that carries her through.
hmm But then at tribal council, she reveals she killed her husband, so she loses. um,
I almost wish this movie was filmed like Survivor. It's like a little bit mockumentary style where they have the confessionals. I don't know how you would do it because the idea of the mockumentary is that you have a camera crew. Um, so they would have to
yeah.
explain that and somehow, but
I kind of wish that there were a couple more characters. Like, I was almost expecting it to be more like Triangle of Sadness, where there were a couple of
Mhm.
other stragglers, and maybe they would just die, like get killed off. But everyone kind of dies immediately, and then we get the two characters late in the movie.
Yeah.
Um, I do think if maybe Raimi will look into a sequel where it happens again and Linda just does it for the thrill of it. And she just crashes the plane and everything.
Yeah,
But
maybe.
yeah, hire me, Raimi. I'll put it out. Hire me or put me on Survivor, whichever casting person's looking at this.
You know, I could have actually seen the Survivor ending if this was actually a Paramount movie, but because it
Yeah.
isn't, I could definitely see Paramount trying to do some cross
Hmm.
promotion, like extra cross promotion. But this wasn't a Paramount movie, so I think there's no way that that ending would have happened.
Yeah, it's interesting because Survivor has had a couple of interesting crossovers. D, for example, was randomly in a Quiet Place uh, teaser. That was a really weird one. Um, I feel like this was a perfect movie to do that, but yeah, since it's not Paramount, it probably just struggled. I think there was some sort of post about it, but I don't think they can market it too heavily because of Paramount,
Yeah.
um, which is a shame. Because Survivor 50 is premiering next week as of recording this. Super excited about that, by the way. So, but we'll talk about that. I mean, I don't know. I'll probably, who knows? Maybe I'll do my own separate video on the season because it is a landmark season with 24 people, the biggest cast of all time, and somehow they still cast who's gonna catch a stray. Somehow they still cast Jonathan Young. Sorry. All right, so it's time for ratings. We do things on the script coverage scale. Pass means that we think it's as gross as a boar vomiting all over you and then dying. Um, Consider, which is you're stranded on an island, but you're stranded on an island with Rachel McAdams. Uh, or otherwise, we think it's mid. And then uh, recommend, which means that we love it and we're living in the awesome mansion with Rachel McAdams, I guess. Um, so yeah, what would you score Send Help?
That's a recommend for me. It was just a ton of fun. Uh, I think both of the performances were really good. Yeah, it's just an easy recommend. It's early, but probably the best movie I've seen so far this year.
Oh, and I can't wait to talk about the other movies you've seen this year. Um, I've really only seen two, and yeah, this is my favorite so far. This is a recommend for me. It's kind of a movie built for me, like with the Survivor references and Raimi. But like this had a chance of flopping. Like this could have been bad. Raimi hasn't
Mhm.
been like super great. I mean, I thought Multiverse of Madness was okay, but
Yeah, you can't really blame him. I mean, there's it's not. I don't know how much control he gets in a movie like that versus the
yeah.
studio.
And
Sorry, I didn't mean
so,
to.
oh no, you're good. You're good. I was just gonna say like Multiverse of Madness is like good, but it's not like I expected something like outstanding with it. This really blew me away, and it's not necessarily because it's super fancy or artsy. It's because it's just a really fun ride, and we need more movies like that.
Mhm. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, have you been
So,
watching anything else that's interesting?
so I mean, I've been watching a lot of movies, but the main thing that I've been watching is Mad Men. I've never seen the show apart from episode one when I was in college, and I thought it was a great premiere. That was one of the highlights of my TV appreciation class, and yet for some reason I didn't watch it. Um, I think it was just because I was also watching. I think I got into BoJack Horseman from that, and so then I got too sad to watch anything ever again. Um, but no, it's a pretty good show. I'm almost done with season one, and yeah, it's a recommend for me as well.
Nice. Yeah, I watched Wuthering Heights. I did not like that movie. I was, and I kind of I don't hate Emerald Fennell like everyone else does. I loved Promising Young Woman. I quite enjoy Saltburn. I know it's a bit of a hot take, but
Ooh, it's so bad. I'm sorry.
Saltburn is one of those movies where I will say I like it, but if someone's like that's the worst movie I've ever seen, I'm like, yeah, that's a valid opinion. Like, it's just I think I can't think of very many movies like that where I truly believe all opinions I understand are completely valid. But Wuthering Heights just did not work. Um, I don't think Margot Robbie and Jacob Elordi had much chemistry. Um, and then I also found their characters frustrating because they are full grown adults, but they have the maturity of teenagers. Um, so it was just a little bit annoying, and the flow was also all off. The editing was super choppy, and as a result, it was also boring while also being annoying at the same time. So yeah, it's just I don't know if I was disappointed because I didn't really have many expectations for it. But yeah, I definitely did not like the movie.
Without going too deep, I know the movie is titled quote unquote Wuthering Heights. I don't know if you've read the book, but like, do you know why the quotes ended up in the movie, or is it, yeah, is it a real adaptation or not?
Um, so from what I have heard, there are um, it is a like adaptation. Like the characters in the movie are the characters in the book, and it is a love story between I think Catherine and Heathcliff.
Heathcliff, yeah.
And there's there is the idea of like yeah, he's poor and she gets married to a rich guy, and then he comes back and he's rich now, and so she starts um, falling back in love with him. But from what I understand, other than like the very broad stuff, a lot of the details are changed. Um, so
Okay.
yeah, so it is an adaptation, but like it's not a faithful adaptation either.
Yeah. I mean, Saltburn is kind of like that too, where it's this movie called Theorem, which I've actually seen. I own the Criterion. It's very similar, but they just don't do all the freaky. Like it's kind of freaky, but they don't do it as freaky and weird as Saltburn does, which is one, which isn't the problem with the movie for me, by the way. I just think, but I guess at the same time, I do think Emerald Fennell gets a lot of hate on Twitter. It's
Oh
probably
yeah.
because she's a woman. Honestly, I can't think of any other reason why people are so mean. But like, yeah, like I didn't like that movie. I probably won't see Wuthering Heights, but
Mhm.
uh, I don't know. Is it the worst filmography of all time? I don't even think if I
Not
did
even
see all three movies, I would agree with that. So,
not even close. I think most people would actually genuinely like Promising Young Woman. Uh, Even if you can argue the third act is kind of out there, but I think the first two acts are very very good. I think most people would actually like that movie. I can understand the hate for Saltburn. Of course, I do not like Wuthering Heights. I don't know very many people who did. Um,
the
but
rating
even if
spread is kind of like all over the place on Letterboxd right
yeah,
now. So,
yeah. But yeah, it is not the worst filmography of all time. Not even close. All right. Well, thank you so much for watching our episode, and or listening to it if you're listening on the podcast. I'm Rohan. That's Kevin. Stay tuned for more episodes in the future, and thank you so much. Bye.
bye.